Hello, and welcome to the Two Bald Brothers on a Microphone podcast. This is one of the Bald Brothers, Danny, and I'm here with Kirk Liemohn. Kirk, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Danny. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a Friday afternoon. We're getting prepped for the big storm, I guess. Looks like it's going to head up. It could head up our way, which is kind of. I don't think we're used to getting ready for hurricanes in mid-Georgia, but
I'm sure it'll be weaker. It'll be weaker,
Yes.
but it's supposed to come right over us, I hear.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yep. Absolutely. So should be an interesting weekend, and it looks like I guess it's coming the first part of the week, Monday or Tuesday. So should be interesting to see what happens. So I wanted to talk to you about. I guess we were in prep for this. This is number 3 as far as the number of mission trips that you've had going down to Guatemala. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome. So number 3, lucky number 3. So tell me about this one. How was it different than the other times that you went down?
It was, so it was similar to the last one. The first one I went on, we did some construction at the organization is called Salud y Paz, which stands for Health and Peace in Guatemala. I think they have 5 clinics and 1 school, and the main location has a clinic and a school, but it's still in a very rural area. And we did some work on site for their playground 2 years ago. And then the last 2, however, we've been building houses for people associated with the clinic or work at the clinic. So this year it was for Tomasa, who has, I believe, 5 kids, and she's a widow, and she lives in a shack basically, and that was the case for Rosa as well in terms of her living conditions. So it was pretty close to that last one in terms of the construction work we did. I guess the main difference is a year ago when we did it, all they had was the footings in. This time, a previous mission team had gotten up to like 4 levels or so, maybe 5, in terms of cinder blocks high, and we brought it up, pretty much all the way to the top, and had started some of the prep work for laying the floor down, or the cement floor, and getting ready for the roof and the porch and stuff like that.
So this is you're building out another house for Tomasa? Did I say that right?
Yes, this one was for Tomasa, and the interesting thing about her house, the one we did last year, we had to walk a couple hundred yards through a cornfield to get to Rosa's house, which really wasn't that bad, even if you're carrying cinder blocks and stuff, because Tomasa's house was way more than that, and it was very hilly from the road. So it was just painful getting back out every day, because it's downhill to her house and then uphill from there, and it's all volcanoes everywhere around in Guatemala, it seems. So it's pretty steep.
And tell me the prep for this. Is it are you working on, I think it's the materials already down there waiting for you, or what sort of things did you need to do as a group to prepare for this?
In terms of the construction preparation, there was nothing. It was just, make sure you bring yourself with some decent boots or shoes and some gloves and clothes you don't mind getting real dirty and don't want to keep maybe. And that's it. So they've got a crew down there in this case, it was probably 3 guys that really, one of them was leading and knew what he was doing. He would set up all the corners for the walls and everything, and the line to keep everything level and plumb. And then, a lot of us already knew kind of the rest of what to do, but you learn on the fly too. So I did a lot more block laying this time than I did before, just because I was relatively experienced at it compared to some others. So
You said blockling? What was
block
that?
laying, sorry, the laying cinder blocks.
I was
Brick,
like,
I
I
would
knew
say
I don't.
brick laying, but they weren't bricks. So
I knew I didn't know anything about construction, but that was a new one for me, so I just needed a block laying. Okay, I think I've done that before. Yes, absolutely. How many folks were in your group that went down there?
I think the final number was 17, I believe, from mostly from my church, Dunwood United Methodist, here in the Atlanta area. There let's see, were there just two that weren't from my church out of our group? I believe that's the case.
And was one of them that Guy Lee, Mr.
That is
An X
correct.
three wheel folk?
Yeah,
That's kind
yeah.
of
So
cool.
I've been keeping up with him, with
Hmm.
Guy, and I could just his wife grew up in Guatemala actually, and
Really?
yep, and I forget if she was. I think she was born there. Sorry.
Okay.
I think her parents were from Canada, but she was born in Guatemala, and I knew that he had an affinity for it from that reason, and then that I just that talking to him more about God and
Hmm.
religion and Christianity, I knew that he would also be interested from that standpoint. So,
That's awesome.
so he jumped at the opportunity, and it's a lot of fun to have around.
That's great. So you just gave him a personal invitation to come with you to go down there, and he took you up on it.
Yep. Yeah, we
Awesome.
have meetings ahead of time where everyone kind of figures out what's going on. You decide if you
Hmm.
really want to go, and then of course you start committing to going and pay money and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, that's the way it works.
Guy have a good time? How'd it go for
Yeah,
him?
I think he had a great time.
Cool.
So I suspect he'd want to do it next year. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he would, and I do too. So we'll see what happens next year.
That's awesome. Well done. And so part of this going down there as well was there was a vacation Bible school, or what was there was also tell me more about what you did there.
Yeah, so we spend 4 days of the trip. There's a couple of travel days and a couple of free days, and then there's 4 days on site where we're doing the work. And of those 4 days, 3 of those days we do vacation Bible school, and those are back at the school and clinic, not at the person's house in this case. So I personally was not involved with the vacation Bible school. Did get to play with the kids some when we go there for lunch, and if they're out at recess, I play with some of the kids, which is a lot of fun. But the vacation Bible school is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, in the first in the afternoons, and then the first day you usually get over 100 kids there. I think we had 120. I forget the numbers now. But then it grows from that the next day and the third day because the word gets around. And so the third day, I believe we had 326 kids, which is our record for doing this, and which is really neat. I know it had to be hard to manage, but we've got several on our team that are doing it, and they get a couple of people outside our team to help as well.
So
And
word gets around that the famous American Kirk Liemohn is there.
no, not me. That wasn't me. It was Deanna and Lori and others. Uh, a lot of the women from our team are involved with the Vacation Bible School, and
Hmm.
they certainly do the construction as well. But when it comes VBS time, they run off and do that usually. So and it's great. It's great outreach, and kids really like it. I mean, we put them into three groups, but if you have over 300, that's 100 per group. That's got to be pretty hard to manage. But they do it somehow.
It's awesome. Anything from this time going down there that I guess every trip like this changes you. Any sort of ways that you came back from this, either a changed person or noticed something new going down there, or just had a different type of experience while you were down there?
Well, it was neat having Guy with me,
Yeah.
and during these trips we have devotions, and a lot of the time, and each person gives a devotion, and they can read from a book, they can tell a story, it can be personal or not. Typically, they are personal stories, kind of like the what's said in Guatemala stays in Guatemala type of stories, and and these are just amazing because we really open up with each other, and it's just I mean, I know you've been on retreats, Danny, and mission trips, and probably I know you've experienced this. So but it's really neat to get you kind of really get to know the group better, and when people open up like that. So
Yeah.
several people really opened up, and some of them, I don't have my faith story and life story is not as interesting as some of the others, but several have very interesting stories. Many have, tragedies involved and some very, a lot of personal hardships, and it's just really interesting hearing those, and it draws you closer to them and to Christ, and
Hmm.
hearing how they've pulled through it. So that's happened throughout the three times I've gone, but it just seemed to be more prevalent this trip. I don't know, maybe I just got more out of the devotions this one. I've really loved the other ones, but that's what really struck me this time. Another thing that was different this time was we travel on Saturdays, and then the first Sunday is a free day. We do have our own private church service that we do, but worship service, I should say. But then the rest of the day is free, and typically we've done shopping on that day or something. But I got to go on a volcano hike this time, so
Oh, nice.
it was yeah, nice might not be the right word. We
What
there
should I
were
say?
it was beautiful, but it was grueling. So
Okay.
we took a boat across the lake. We were near a place called Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. It's a beautiful scene. It's just surrounded by volcanoes. From Panajachel, which is where we stay, to another town. I wish I remember the name of it right now. San something, but Pablo or something like that. Pedro, I think. Uh, and there's a little town over there, and then you get on these little um, tiny little cars that are called tuk-tuks, which I think are from India, but they're meant to hold like the driver and maybe one or two behind the driver. But we would try and stuff three adult males in this thing, which was not fun. It would take us up the hill to the park, where the park entrance is for climbing the volcano, and I think that was a little over 6,000 feet of elevation at that point. The lake is at 5,000 feet of elevation, so it's already basically a mile high, and and it went up to 9,900 feet of elevation, and it's basically like climbing stairs for 3 hours or 2 hours. Is it 2 or 3 hours now? I think it's 3 hours on the way up, with
Hoo-ah!
yeah, with a couple of breaks in between. So it was, I've loved it. I would do it again, but not anytime soon. It was, I mean, it's painful. You know, your thighs and legs and other things are screaming. And then going down, you would think is easy, but that's actually kind of hard too, because you have to brake on every step. Because you're going down basically a steep path, and there's sort of stairs in some places where there's, you know, wooden uh, limbs are placed across the pathway with some vertical ones holding the horizontal ones in place, and then becomes a dirt stairway with wood supports. So it was really neat. So there were several of us guys that made it to the top, and it's beautiful up there. And we only got to hang out there for a few minutes, but it was still really neat to see, and just a neat experience.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. So, anything else that you're taking away from this experience that you've had?
Well, these are it's just certainly thanks to Three Will, because you haven't
Oh,
mentioned this yet on this podcast. Through Three Will's program of allowing us to do service to others, and take the time off for it. That's what got me started on this. I always wanted to do it, and then once the program started, I immediately said that's what I'm going to do, and so I appreciate
absolutely.
that Three Will allows for me to take this time off, and it doesn't count against my vacation. Enough so that I actually hope to do two in one year, which I know Three Will won't give me the time for that, but that's okay. So I've caught the bug, and I love doing it. So it's just a great experience. I recommend others try it for
Well,
sure.
that's wonderful to hear. I mean, I think from you sharing earlier with hearing people's face stories and just getting to grow and to meet others closer than you can just in day to day life. You know, that's where I fell in love with Amy. I mean, we met on mission trip, and it definitely was a life changing thing for me.
Hmm.
So it's wonderful. I just think it's great that you're doing these and then doing them once a year. What a way to, sort of renew yourself, and what a way to give back. And yeah, this is it's as you know, as we had this morning in our company meeting, it's I really want to encourage people to take those 5 days off, as what Kirk is referring to, is We have what's called volunteer time off at Three Will, where you can take 5 days out of the year, and they won't count against you for vacation days, or we also do have some utilization bonuses, and it doesn't count against that. But it just gives, we want to encourage people. We know how important it is to give back, and how important it is to do things like go take mission trips. And so I just think it's wonderful that you're doing this. I think it's congratulations on asking. Guy is just a wonderful person, and that the fact that you reached out to him and invited him, hopefully he'll be able to come with you again on future trips, but just giving him that opportunity. I just want to acknowledge that was a good thing that you asked him and that you got him involved as well. Thank you for doing that.
Sure. And there's one other thing. So yeah, I'm really glad I invited Guy, and it was fun to get to know him better on this trip.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing I failed to mention that was different this time is we had one of the associate pastors from our church, Jenna Kennedy. She came, and she's one of the younger pastors, and it was great to have her come. And I mean, she was my helper at one time, standing up on scaffolding and laying those cinder blocks down. So it's fun working with her and getting to know her better. And she was also, we do communion, our own communion at Saluti Paz. When we're nearly done with the trip, we do it on Thursday afternoon, and she led that, and that was pretty powerful to have that happen. It was really neat at this time because, this has happened in the past, I guess, but as Jen is giving communion and saying, giving a speech beforehand, it's being translated by the executive director of Saluti Paz to a couple of the guys that we work with, and because they didn't know English, obviously, and so it was, Jenna's trying to talk off the cuff, without a prepared speech, which she's good at doing, but she's not used to having a translator, come in and make her pause for a few seconds. So it was kind of funny, but really powerful at the same time. So it was just neat to see.
That's awesome. What a great story. Very nice. Thank you, Kirk, for taking the time out of your, I know, very busy schedule doing this. And thank you for all the preparation that you put into this. And I just think it's wonderful that it's just a great thing that you do. And I think it's also neat, your girls seeing you go out and do something like this as well. As a leader of your family, it's really good that you're going and doing this.
Thanks. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.